And we're in. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Ladies Parlor Show. And we have such an interesting topic this morning. We are going to be talking about pandemic budgeting. Well, budgeting is always a topic that we talk about here in Ladies Power Lunch, financial planning, managing our money, managing money in our businesses, that sort of thing. And now we're in a pandemic, so things are a little bit different. And there are, I'm sure, as our experts will tell us, ways that we can get very focused and really succeed in getting our money under control, even during these times that are a little bit different from times that we've had before. So I just want to say hi to our wonderful, wonderful members who've joined us here on Zoom today. Thank you so much for joining. It means so much. And then also want to say hi to the ladies who have joined us over in our Facebook group. So we have Jamie, we have Dee, we have Gina, we have Kiana, let's see who Audra is over there as well. Great to see all of you over there, and I'm sure more of our members will be joining as we're going on. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to post them in the chat. And also, if you have questions over on Facebook, go ahead and post them over in the comments on Facebook as well. I see that we also have Janet joining us over on Facebook. Welcome, Janet. So I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our very special guests today, our guests who are experts in this field of finance and managing our money. And I want to go first to ask Rishma, can you just tell our audience who you are and what it is that you do?
Yes, sure. Um, I am a financial coach, and I help women who are stuck in transition in various stages of their divorce, be it before, during, or after. I help them create their get out of jail emergency fund and financial plan in place so that they are financially independent and they can then not be afraid to leave sooner and then start pursuing their dreams. And I'm also an author of the book Pandemic Budgeting and Finances. And how
Do you
I,
have a copy of your book to show
yes,
us what it looks like?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I remember seeing you posting that in our Facebook group. I hope everybody who's needed it has had a chance to connect with it. It's available on Amazon, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Rishma. And we also have joining us today another very special guest, Jackie Baldwin. Jackie, will you tell us who you are and what you do?
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you again for always having such great topics available to all of us, Dr. Davia. You're just a blessing to all of us. So thank you. I'm Jackie Baldwin, and I'm a financial architect, otherwise known as a financial advisor. And I also really focus on working with women in transition, whether it be women changing marital status, whether it be women deciding to leave that corporate job that they've been at for 30 plus years and going to, go after their hopes and dreams, or whether they're actually just getting ready to enter into that retirement and they want to make sure they're in a good place. So that's kind of what I do, and I'm a very holistic financial advisor. So I believe in the triad of health, which is financial, physical, and emotional spiritual wellness. And if any one of those three, yes, and if any one of those three are left unattended or neglected, it has a detrimental effect on the other two.
I love obviously what you're saying about making sure that your whole life is in alignment and making sure, because my life theme is living your optimal life in every single aspect. So this just, it's like you're preaching to the choir basically saying these things to me. This is really, really the direction that we want to invite all our members to go in, to appreciate that every area of your life can have that richness, that wonderfulness. So great, great idea. I want to lean a little bit into what you're both talking about, both Rishma and Jackie, talking about working with people in transition. Now, as far as many of us go, we're probably not necessarily in a transition moment in our lives, but we're in a transition time in the
Yes.
world because let's face it, most of us who are in business, if you're in private practice or if you're in, entrepreneurship, things have changed since March. Business is not business as usual. We're in sort of a new normal, and it's really just a new normal for now because we really don't know what it's going to be like come January and what it's going to be like in the next 6 months. So I think there's an opportunity for us to all focus in a little bit on what our money looks like during this time of transition, which is transition for all of us. So, Rishma, what do you think about managing your money during the pandemic? What advice do you have for our listeners today?
So, a divorce or unemployment that we are seeing a lot because of the pandemic or the pandemic itself, it it's a crisis. A crisis is a crisis, and you should always be prepared for it. And if a person is prepared and have their emergency fund in place, then they won't be stressed and they won't be all worked out and not get sleep in the night. So that so having a ma- money plan in place and a budget in place, it helps. And there's a difference between a budget and an emergency budget. Um, the 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 industry leaders keep hammering that you should get out of debt, pay off your debts, but sometimes it's crucial to first have your emergency fund in place, and then you can be creative and you can actually think of creative ways to get your finances in place. And according to me, budgeting is a art and not a science, because like 5 plus 5 is 10, but so is 6 plus 4, 5 plus 3 plus 2. So you can be creative. You have to, like, of course it comes with experience, and that's where you can, it's good to sometimes invest in yourself and get work with financial uh, you know coaches like Jacqueline or myself. But it's a art, so it's like a combination of how much should you, out of the $10, how much should you put towards your emergency fund, how much do you need to put towards your credit. And it depends on your situation in life and where you are and what your goals are. So that makes a difference of how you allocate that $10. And you can do that only with budgeting. If you have 5 plus 3 plus question mark, that's never going to equal to 10, and you don't know what that question mark is it $2, is it $5, where did it go, you have no idea. So that's the importance of budgeting. It's not to restrict you, it's more about to create your life and give you the choices and options to shape your life and do what you need to do best for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Rishma. Jackie, what do you think about, budgeting during this time when we're in a pandemic?
Right. Well, I want you to think about, and Rishma, you're spot on. I love, obviously I've read your book and there's so much great information in there, and it is simple to follow and very informative. And you're spot on when we talk about an emergency fund and so forth. What happens is so many of us on this call right now are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. So our budget for our personal life and our business are very meshed together. And so when we're having difficulties in our business, perhaps during the pandemic, it can really throw a monkey wrench into our personal budget. But I want to just take a step back and just say, first of all, when we talk about budget, and I know I've been talking with a lot of people about budget lately, and Mickey, you said it best. Oh my gosh, budget sounds like diet. It does, right? And who thinks of diet as restrictive. And I love what Reshma just said. Don't think of it as restrictive. I want to flip that concept and think about a year ago, Dr. Davia, I came to see you. I was literally in tears. I felt horrible. I was falling asleep at the wheel during the day because my body was not getting the nutrients that I needed and so forth. I was a mess. And I thought for sure I needed serious help. And you said, I can help you. We just need to look at what are you putting into your body? So think of it, yes, a budget is kind of like a diet, but think about it from the nutrients that you're putting into your body. Do you want to eat cake every day? You could, but your body isn't going to feel the greatest, right? I'm not suggesting that we don't ever eat cake, but what I'm suggesting is if we have a certain allotment of calories and food that we're supposed to be putting in our bodies, we want to make sure that the food that we're putting in first is feeding us so that we can go forward and live our optimal self. And we also want to make sure, however, that we have that piece of cake. Because what happens when you deprive yourself, with anybody who's been on a diet, right? We cut out everything that we ever like. How successful is that diet going to be? Probably not, right? We're going to cheat and then we feel bad when we cheat. And then we go off, we say, the heck with the diet, I can't do it. The same with a budget. Don't look at a budget as saying, I can't have any fun or I can't do any of this stuff. When I work with clients on creating a budget, first and foremost, we've got to make sure we have self-care in there. And that can take many forms. But if we don't take care of that self-care, when I go back to that triad of health, we're not going to make this work. And in a pandemic like this, when we're under so much stress, that self-care is not a luxury. And Audra, if you're on the Facebook side, I know I loved your post the other day, yesterday I think it was, where you were talking about how self-care is imperative. This isn't a luxury item. So build it into your budget, because if you are not taking care of yourself and you're not in that best place, this pandemic is going to really bring you down. So when we create a budget, I make sure that we go through everything. Obviously, there's the things that you need to keep the roof over your head. You need food, you need gas, things like that. But then, as Reshma was saying, if we have certain dollars, let's just look to see where we can shift them around a little bit to make sure that we include that self-care, that you have that piece of cake once in a while, because that's what's feeding our soul. And when everything is taken away in this pandemic, we need to add those things back in, or we're going to never, it's not going to work. And a budget isn't going to work if you feel like it's super restrictive. So I like to look at a budget as I do feeding your body with proper nutrients, adding in those little bit of wine and a little bit of fun. Same with your budget. And when you do that, you're much more apt to stay on budget because it's not feeling oppressive. So I would say that is the biggest thing that we need to make sure during this pandemic time, that you're not cutting out all the other stuff. There are plenty of things that you can reduce. Key things that I will tell you that people spend a ton of money on without even knowing it. Coffee, right? People are driving on the street and they pull in, oh, there it is, Dunkin' Donuts. For me, Dunkin' Donuts right now, or any of those places, and I get the pumpkin latte. Oh my gosh, well, that's $5 easy right there, depending on where I go. I say to myself, okay, in my head, I have my budget. I would much rather not have 2 cups of that latte. I'll be home in 20 minutes. I'll fix my own darn cup of coffee. And I have my pumpkin creamer sitting in the fridge, so I'm good. And then I can take that money and put it toward a float, because floating is keeping me sound and emotionally secure. So before you start slashing and burning things, just take some minor adjustments. We all spend money in places that we don't even know. And if you don't track it, you're sitting there going, where's all my money going? So I suggest when people are going through their budget to start with, a lot of times we'll spend whatever we have, correct? I don't think I'm wrong on that. So what I suggest people do is I have a very simple spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet that I use with my clients. And I just say, look, put in your basic expenditures that you know you have every month. And at the end of the day, you're sitting there saying, well, I should have $200 extra a month. Why don't I? Why am I living paycheck to paycheck? I bet you it's because of all those little add-ins that you don't even know that you're doing. It's so easy to swipe that debit card, and before you know it, that's $200 on what? You didn't even know. And did it give you the pleasure that a float would have, like for me, a float would have given me when I could have gone home and had a 50-cent cup of coffee versus my $5 or whatever. So I then tell people, if you're using your debit card, go back 3 months and make sure that everything you've spent is accounted for, not to penalize you, but just so you can get an idea of where you can shift your mindset, right? Before I open my fridge up and I go in there and grab the gallon of ice cream, I'm going to say, I'd rather have this really nice baked piece of bread that Jen made, because that's going to be better for me and I'm really going to enjoy that. So I'm going to not do these calories so I can have these calories. Same here. I'm not going to spend these dollars because I'm going to accumulate them and put them towards something over here. Oftentimes you'll find that money's just slipping through your fingers and you don't even know it. And you can just make some minor adjustments without feeling like you're cutting out every pleasure, and then put those dollars towards something that were really going to be meaningful. And when it comes to our businesses, we really need to look at our budget from a marketing standpoint and so forth, and look to see what can we do, like these things. Dr. Davia, you're giving us all such a gift of creating this Ladies Power Lunch. It's free to us to use. People should be utilizing these kinds of networking opportunities to build up our alliances and help each other build our businesses up. There's a lot of ways we need to look at how are we marketing, where are our efforts going, and then rein in those dollars for this year and say, where shall I spend those dollars? It's really important. The other area that people are overspending on are all those subscriptions that you start signing on to. I have Spotify. I got rid of cable, but then I found I signed on to all these other subscriptions, and I'm sitting there going, at the end of the day, am I spending more? And are some of those available free somewhere else? So go through and look to see, where are you spending this dollar that just comes out every month? You didn't even know it's coming out. I bet you could find $50 right there that you could cut out of what you're doing that are either available for free, or there's alternatives that are for free, or you've doubled up somehow. If you have Amazon Prime, don't be paying for something else. Look to see, there are ways to cut back on all of that. And the other big place that you can cut back automatically, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't had your auto insurance and your homeowner's insurance reviewed in the last couple of years, I can help you with that. I partner with an all-woman firm, and I give my business there, and they review that. I have it reviewed every year because I have young drivers, well, 20-ish boys. So I have mine reviewed every year. I've consistently saved $100 a month every year for the last 3 years. That's significant dollars that we're talking about. And I can then divert that to my marketing for my business. So take a look at these areas that are simple to fix and see whether you can come up with some dollars here and there. And if you need help, Reshma and I are both available to help you with that. I'm sorry I've gone on way too long, but as you can tell, I'm really passionate about this, because if you don't have your money flow, your cash flow under control and know where that's going, you can't build out onto all the other areas of your financial security. That has to be the core. That's your foundation. I'll stop talking now.
Well, I appreciate that you're making these points, because I think when a lot of people think about a financial advisor, their first thought might be that, okay, I need to actually have all of this in place already, and then invite a financial advisor to come in to show me how to grow my money. But I love the way that you, Jackie, and you, Rishma, are actually taking us by the hand, are very financially not so savvy hands and saying, okay, here are the ways that you're going to go about budgeting. Here are the ways that you're going to go about setting yourselves up so that you can actually have wealth to invest in the future, and probably nearer future than farther future. I really, really like that. So, of course, we could talk about this topic for a really, really long time because it's such a rich topic. There's so many
Mm.
things to really tap into here. But let me have you unmute, Rishma, and will you just give us some last words, your do's and don'ts for pandemic budgeting?
So I would say for the dues, it's a must to have your emergency fund in place. And another thing is, as Jackie was saying, you put your subscriptions on automation. So I would recommend putting your savings on automation in the same way. It's, put it on autopilot, and it adds up. Like when you go and use your debit card for shopping, at the end, suddenly at the end, like, if you do automation, the bank transfers $1 per transaction in your savings. So at the end of the month, you suddenly have an extra $10 or $12 in your savings account, and you weren't even expecting it or thought about it. And that makes you happy, and it gives you joy, which in turn then, gives you abundance and gives you more money, and you feel happier. Another thing is a don't, which I think is crucial, is like always take out money for your taxes, because people don't do that. In fact, my ex-husband started a consulting firm, and we never took out taxes, as though he had no idea about it. And then we got hit with a $10,000 bill, and IRS wants their money right away. So we had to put it on credit card. So along with already having whatever debt you have, you added another 10,000, and now you're incurring interest and things like that. So that all comes with awareness and preparedness. And everybody knows they have to pay their taxes, and don't consider it to be your own money and spend it off and go and buy things you can't afford, and just do the quarterly payments as you're supposed to.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rishma. Jackie, any last words, last do's and don'ts, things that if we do nothing else, we should do these things?
One big don't is don't stop paying things. All right. If you have debt, credit card debt, and it's starting to feel overwhelming, do not just decide you're not going to pay it, because that can ruin your credit. So you want to make sure that you call the credit card companies. They're all willing to work with you, especially now, because they want to make sure that they keep you as a client, and they really do want their money back eventually. So call them, and a lot of times you can work out a reduced payment so that you're actually not showing late payments, and it's something that's more doable for you. So I would say that is your key don't in that respect. And the key do is to take a deep breath and find somebody to help walk through this. You don't need to do this alone. I know it can be frightening, and we're here for you. This is not something that you need to try to just figure out. Let someone help you. Reach out. I'm here to take your hand, and so is Rishma.
Awesome. I love that. And that segues right into the final thing that I wanted to say today, and that is that we're all in this together, guys. We really and truly are. And I am always a proponent of collaboration and coming together and supporting each other in every way that we can. If you look at the Ladies Power Lunch group, you will see that pretty much anything that you'd ever want to have done in your business, maybe a lot of the things that you might want to have done in your life, there is a member in the group that can help us. And so taking advantage of that, I think that's golden. So if people would like to get in touch with you, Rishma and Jackie, and we'll start with you, Rishma, how can they go about doing that? Do you have any offers or any specials or any events coming up that people can participate in?
Um, I do have my book that you could buy on Amazon. And for my thank you. And for my coaching, I have my website. It's flourishbizcenter.com. So you can go and check that out, and you can always reach me, PM me, and I'll keep my email address in chat. It's Reshma Bhojwani, the number 1 at gmail.com. So you could reach me out, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you to see how I can help you, since everybody's case scenario is different. So we have to figure out how best to help you in your particular scenario.
I love that, Rishma. It's not one size fits all. It really, really isn't. I was so fortunate because I did hire a business coach a few years ago, who is still a really significant part of our business right now. And it just so happened that she was the best thing I ever did, really, because she is before she was a coach, she was an accountant. That's what she studied in school, and then she went on to do her graduate work in psychology. So she's also a licensed therapist, and then she went on to get her certification in coaching. So for all the times when I was worrying about money and stressed, she would put on her psychology hat. And then for all the times that I needed to get organized with my money, she would put on her accounting hat. And one of the things that I did not want to do is I did not want to look at my money. It was scary for me. I know you're all saying, really, that is so silly, but
No.
truly, I would want to just hand everything over to my accountant and never have a look at it ever. And she encouraged me to do exactly what you're saying, Jackie, get a spreadsheet. And it was the most liberating thing that I've ever done, to the
Mhm.
point where I look forward to looking at my spreadsheet now because I want to see what's going on. And we have comments over here in Facebook land. Audra says, I love Rishma's example of how there are many ways to get to 10. Um, Dee
Mhm.
is saying self care is a necessity. Audra is saying cake, but only in moderation. I love that. That was such a great example, comparing the idea of caring for your body and caring for your bank account. I really, really did love that. Audra says that looking at your money is not oppressive, but actually liberating. And Gina says, Jackie has been holding my hand and helping me plan for my future. I'm so thankful for her help and support. Hannah says, very important topic about money. Janet says, I love your comparison for people and their money. It's not about judgment, but helping. And Audra says, feeling badass with my moolah now. And Audra also says, an accounting therapist, great combo. I agree, because if there's anything that can put you over the edge, it's going to be issues with money. Am I right? Thank you
Absolutely.
guys so much. Jackie, how can people get in touch with you? What do you have going on?
Well, I have a number of things that are going to be coming up, including some things we're going to be talking about writing a love letter to your family, things like that. But more on the fun side, I'm collaborating with Naomi Rafalowitz and Sarah Ladiano from Float 41 to put together kind of a self-care afternoon. So more to come on that. So look out for that and get signed up. It will be a very limited number because it's at the Float Center. So when it's full, but we'll run it again. And you can reach me either, the best way is either through Facebook if we're already connected, or you can reach me. I'll put my number and things like that down here. My website is www.blfinarc.com. We have all kinds of calculators. So if you're trying to figure out how, how to pay off bills and things like that, there's calculators in there to just play around with numbers to see, what you can do with that as well.
Awesome. So, guys, remember, we don't have to have extreme wealth to really get in touch with a financial coach or a financial advisor. We need to have these people in our lives to hold our hands so that we can get to that level of extreme wealth. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I want to
So,
just add, can I just say one thing too?
sure.
And that is, I cannot tell you how many times people do not go seek out a financial advisor for that very reason. It's the same as I've said before. We don't, if you're going to have somebody come in and clean your house, you start cleaning your house first because you don't want it, people to see how messy it is. Don't look at it that way. I have never have any judgment. And when I have been working with clients, they say to me, you're half therapist and half financial advisor. And so that's what we're here for. And I cannot stress enough, in order for you to reach your goals, get a partner. That's what we're here for. And there is absolutely no judgment. And don't ever, ever, ever think that.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
love that.
that's true, because when I got divorced 5 years back, I went to a advisor thinking that's the right thing to do so that they can guide me what I should do with my money. Should I first pay off my debts, or my house? Should I put my house in foreclosure, or what should I do with my 401k? And I was hoping to get guidance, but they're like, you're not rich enough, and you need to first put all your money in order. That's not true. That's not right. In fact, i I got messed up because of that. And that's why um, you need to first be knowledgeable, and financial literacy is the
Yes.
first number one, and the awareness is the number one key, which a coach can help you with.
Awesome. I feel like there is an opportunity for us to keep talking about our money. I think could have been last week or maybe the week before we talked a little bit about investing and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. This week we're talking about budgeting. I think there's an opportunity for us to keep this money conversation going. So we're right up on a half hour on our call today. So I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. For now, I'm gonna say thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you, Rishma, for joining us. And I invite you all to keep connecting over in our Facebook group. Keep this conversation going because it's a
Absolutely.
really important conversation to have. Join us back here at 1 o'clock today when we're going to have Free Gift Friday. And our dear, wonderful member, her name is Julia Bernatsky of Untamed Hearts, and she's going to be giving away free jewelry, guys. So watch out for that. I'll see you all later. Have a great rest of the day and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for the opportunity.